Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we will learn the Gemara Masechta Shabbos on Daf Ches Amud Aleph. Let's begin by looking at a general outline of this piece of Gemara. So in the previous Gemara, we learned about the three Rishuyos of Shabbos that it's also to carry by. On Daf Vav Amud Aleph, we presented a brisa that spoke about the four Rishuyos of Shabbos: a Rishus HaYachid, a Rishus HaRabim, a Karmelis, and a Mokim P'tor. Up to here in the Gemara, we discussed the part of the brisa that spoke about a Rishus HaYachid, a Rishus HaRabim, and a Karmelis, which those are the three Rishuyos where there's an Isser to carry by them, as opposed to a Mokim P'tor where there's no Isser involved. And we completed speaking about that part of the Mishnah. Now in our piece of Gemara and the next piece of Gemara, we're going to continue and present some teachings related to some of these Rishuyos. So in our Gemara, in this piece itself, the Gemara will present two teachings related to carrying from a Rishus HaYachid into a Rishus HaRabim. And the two teachings are, number one, the din when a person carries a Rishus from one Rishus to another, not that the person carries an item, but rather he carries a Rishus. So the example would be a Rishus HaYachid. He carried something which is 10 Tfachim high and 4 Tfachim by 4 Tfachim wide from the Rishus HaYachid to the Rishus HaRabim. And number two, the second teaching is when Lavad brings about that part of the object is above 10 Tfachim when it comes to rest. When it comes to rest, referring to in the Rishus HaRabim. And we'll discuss this teaching in the class itself. So let's see the Gemara in the flowchart form. Now this piece of Gemara would really be in a purple arrow pointing upwards because it's teachings about the Rishuyos that extend from the previous discussion. But being that there's a lot of opinions and information, it's arranged here in a chart so that it could be more easily understood. But it's presented in the same way that the Gemara presents it. So here we have the teachings of our Gemara, and there's three opinions that we're going to present here. That of Abaya, Rava, and Rav Ashi. So before we begin the actual thing itself, we're going to point out that by a Rishus HaYachid, typically it's 10 Tfachim high and 4 Tfachim by 4 Tfachim wide. However, if it's circular, if it's round, then the dimensions are different. So we'll just see that first before we begin the Gemara. So if we have a circle, in order to qualify as a Rishus HaYachid, it has to be that a square will fit into it, which square should be 4 Tfachim by 4 Tfachim wide. Only then is that circle considered a Rishus HaYachid. And the end result is that the diameter, which means from one end of the circle to the other at any point, from one end to the other, is going to be 5.6 tfachim. Because you could see the 4 tfachim line doesn't come to the ends of the circle, and it's not in the middle of the circle. In order for the circle to be able to fit in it, a square that's 4 by 4, the diameter of the circle, meaning from one side to the other, is going to be 5.6 tfachim wide. In our Gemara, however, we're going to be speaking about 6 tfachim wide. And the reason is, the way Rashi explains it is that the Gemara is not being exact in order to be machmir. But we're just pointing out over here that by a circle, the size changes to 5.6, not 4 by 4, number one. And number two, the Gemara refers to 6 tfachim in order to be machmir, to avoid an isser. So let's see the Gemara now based on that. So Abaya teaches if one throws a round basket from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim, the din is if it's 10 tfachim high but not 6 tfachim wide, so it doesn't qualify as a Rishus HaYachid, he's going to be chayiv. He carried something from the Rishus HaYachid to the Rishus HaRabim. He did the malacha of eitzah, he's going to be chayiv. And so this is a picture of what it would look like. We have the basket is 10 tfachim high, but it's minus 6 tfachim wide. It's a little less than 6 tfachim wide. If it's 6 tfachim wide, so then it qualifies as a Rishus HaYachid. He's going to be patur because he didn't carry an object from the Rishus HaYachid to the Rishus HaRabim. He carried a Rishus from the Rishus HaYachid to the Rishus HaRabim. And we don't find in the Mishkan that they carried Rishus, and therefore he's patur. And there we have, there was to be an example of a basket that is 6 tfachim wide. It's a Rishus HaYachid, and therefore he's patur. And Rava responded to this and said that even if it's not 6 tfachim wide, he is patur. Even in the case that the first case, where it's not 6 tfachim wide and it's not a Rishus HaYachid, he'll still be patur for a different reason. And he explains what's the reason he's going to be patur. It's considered, it qualifies as an object, not as a Rishus. So the person carried something from the Rishus HaYachid to the Rishus HaRabim. He says, what's the reason? Because it's not possible that some slivers of reed don't go above 10 tfachim. If it's 10 tfachim high, then it's impossible. It's going to happen that some of the slivers on the top of the basket are going to extend above 10 tfachim, so it comes out that the object did not come to rest entirely in the Rishus HaRabim. Part of it is resting in a Mokim P'tor. So even in the case of minus 6, we can see just a picture of it. There's some things that are still extending above 10 tfachim, and therefore the person is patur. The Gemara then continues and presents another teaching, which Rashi explains fits according to Abaya and Rava. They're both saying this, that if one threw the basket that's not 6 tfachim wide, where over there's a machlekes, but he threw it upside down, then the din is as follows. If it's up to 7 tfachim and a bit high, that means it's 7 tfachim plus just the smallest amount, the next adding a mashahu, the smallest possible measurement, the person will be chayiv. The reason is because once something enters within 3 tfachim of the ground, we say lover. It's as if the walls of the basket extend to the ground. So if we have a basket that's upside down, so the walls are facing downwards, so once it enters within 3 tfachim, that means less than 3 tfachim from the ground, we consider it that the walls extended downwards and it came to rest on the ground. However, if it's 7 and just a drop, it's not a problem because we have 7 and a drop and it's less than 3 tfachim, so those 2 drops of less than 3, a drop less than 3, and the extra drop combine that it's going to be within 10 tfachim of the ground. So if it's up to 7 tfachim and a bit high, the person is chayiv because it had to enter lower than 3 tfachim, and if it's lower than 3 tfachim from the ground, so we'll say 2.9, and the basket is 7.1, it combines for 10 tfachim, it all landed in the Rishus HaRabim. And if it's 7.5 tfachim high, and like Rashi explains, it doesn't mean 7.5 necessarily, it just means more than 7 and a bit, so we'll use the example of 7.2, then he's going to be putter. And the reason is because now it came to rest 10 plus tfachim off the ground. Because if the basket is 7.2 tfachim, and we say love it, once it goes within 2.9 tfachim, so 7.2 and 2.9 is 10.1. So it's a little bit above 10 tfachim from the ground. That means the item did not come to rest in the Rishus HaRabim, rather it also came to rest in the Makom Ptur, and therefore the person's patur. And Rav Ashi says about this, that even if it's 7.5 tfachim high, he's still going to be chayiv. Even though we presented here the reason of Lavid, and the reason is, he says, what's the reason he's going to be chayiv? We're saying Lavid, which should cause that now part of it is resting above 10 tfachim from the ground. The reason is that the walls are made for the inside. The walls of a basket, the purpose of them is to contain something in them. And therefore, as a result, we do not say Lavid. And we only consider at rest when it actually lands on the ground. And then it's not a problem, because even if it's 7.5, or even 8, or 9 tfachim, or 10 tfachim, it's okay, because it all landed in the Rishus HaRabim. So to summarize, we began with machlekes between Abaye and Rava. Abaye said that if a person throws a basket that's round, it's 10 tfachim high and less than 6 tfachim across, so even though really from 5.6 tfachim, it's really he's throwing a rishus, nevertheless we're machmer, and we say up to 6 tfachim across, we don't see it as a rishus. And if a person threw this basket from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim, he's chayiv. However, if it is 6 tfachim across, now it's considered a Rishus HaYachid, and he's patur, because he threw a Rishus from the Rishus HaYachid to the Rishus HaRabim, not an object. And on that we had the opinion of Rav, who argued and said that in both cases, actually, a person will be patur, because even when he threw an object, since it's 10 tfachim high, and it's a basket made out of reeds, it's impossible that some reeds will not extend higher than 10 tfachim, bringing about that the object didn't come fully to rest in the Rishus HaRabim, rather part of it is in the Makom Ptur. And then the next case was a teaching from Abaye and Rava, and a machlekes with Rav Ashi, and Abaye and Rava said that regarding the basket that's not considered a rishus for itself, it's less than 6 tfachim wide. If somebody threw this basket and he threw it upside down into the Rishus HaRabim, the din is as follows. If it's 7.1 tfachim high, then we say lavud. We'll always say lavud. If it's 7.1 tfachim high, then when it comes within less than 3 tfachim from the ground, which is 2.9 tfachim from the ground, we say lavud, and we extend the walls downward, causing that it now is it's at rest in the Rishus HaRabim. He's going to be chayiv, because even though it came to rest 2.9 tfachim from the ground, since it's 7.1 tfachim high, it comes out 2.9 plus 7.1 is 10. So it's all at rest in the Rishus HaRabim. However, if it's 7.2 tfachim high, then since it comes to rest when it's 2.9 tfachim from the ground, so now it comes out that it's 10.1 tfachim high, so 0.1 tefach is in the Makom Ptur, and therefore the person's patur. And Rav Ashi argues and says that in both cases the person is going to be chayiv, because this whole idea of lavid does not apply by a basket whose walls are made for the inside. So therefore, since we do not say lavud, it only comes to rest when it actually lands on the ground. So 7.1, 7.2, all the way up to 10 tfachim high, it will be chayiv, because it's all in the Rishus HaRabim. So it comes out that first we presented Abaye. Abaye had a case of chayiv and patur, and Rava said they're both patur, because it's going to end up that in both cases it's going to be higher than 10 tefachim from the ground. And then we had a case from Abaye and Rava, one chayiv and one patur, and Rav Ashi said both are going to be chayiv, because the way that it becomes to be patur according to Abaye and Rava, Rav Ashi holds doesn't exist in this case.